Today, we invite you into a conversation where ambition meets purpose. In corporate boardrooms, decisions are often guided by data and driven by outcomes. But the question we ask today is that does the heart have a place in leadership? While executives weigh profits against purpose, there exists another dimension, one revealed in silence through meditation and inner reflection. This is where transcendental wisdom arises, offering clarity beyond analysis. Joining us in this dialogue are two remarkable voices. Ramesh Nair, veteran CEO and board member, an influential force in the world of business strategy and leadership. And Swami Ashutoshji, an experienced spiritual guide who brings the timeless clarity of transcendental wisdom to today's complex challenges.
Swami, I wanted to ask, what is transcendental knowledge? Many people hear the term transcendental knowledge and think it is only for saints or monks. So can you please explain what it really means? And if it is something everyday people like students, parents, people going to the corporate world, they can also access?
Can I ask you a question? Where has this knowledge been taught first and under what circumstances? Krishna to Arjuna. And in what circumstances? On the battlefield. Was he a monk? Was he a saint? He was under the most stressed situation a person could possibly be. And in that moment, in this most challenging situation, Krishna tells him, Nirvando, Nitya Sattvasto, Niyogakshema Atman, Nistra Gunyam Arjuna. When he gave him this knowledge, because if you want to be successful in life, then you have to draw back to your depth of mind. Because every action is preceded by a thought. And where is the thought coming from? From the depth of your mind. And you know by your own experience, if you are settled, if your mind is clear, then you will have good ideas. If you are excited and nervous and all that, then you make mistakes and you will have not such a lasting sort of effect. So therefore, meditation, or this, as you call it, what you call it, transcendental, that is for the active people. It is for any person who wants to be joyous in life and at the same time successful. So that applies, I think, not only to students and parents, and it applies to everyone who wants to be successful in life.
So also for those of us who are new to it, what exactly do the Vedas contain? Are they spiritual texts or also practical life guides?
Well, we have to define what we mean by Ved. Ved means simply knowledge. And of course we know the Ved, many people know that there are four Veds, Rig, Sama, Vedya, Chandatava, Ved. Their spiritual text is not the right description. Ved is the blueprint of creation, and the Ved is not a text really where you can much derive in terms of intellectual understanding. If you want to go in, if you define Ved more as a group of texts or a group of kind of a whole set of texts, then yes, there is a lot. There are so many different aspects of Vedic texts, like everybody must have heard about Upanishads or Aranyakas, or then maybe people have heard of Upaveds like Ayurveda, or then we have heard of Vedanga texts like Jyotish, things like that. They have all different purposes and are very practical for make your life better and make you understand what it means to live according in natural law in life. So, and one thing we have to also understand, that Ved was never composed or written in a sense as we look at a poetic text or anything like that. The Ved itself says, Yo Jagara Tamricha Kamayante, which means whoever is awake, to him the riches, the Vedic hymns, come. So then you start to hear it. Now, we could go into depth of all that, but I don't know how much you want me to go into depth of all this aspect. But see, simply it's knowledge, and knowledge is the basis of life, the basis of every action. So it's definitely applicable for everybody's life, but one has to see which part at what time in your life.
So coming to Ramesh ji, so my question would be, in your leadership journey, have you used this kind of deeper wisdom or spiritual knowledge while leading a team or running a company?
I have been more spiritual in my life, and so the first time I read a text was Bhagavad Gita when I was about 18 years old, when I was doing my engineering. And I always say people should read these texts much early in life, not when you are getting old, because there's a lot of lessons that these texts give you in terms of how to face life, because life is full of life will always have issues, because you have attachments to what is going on in the nature, you have attachments to your family, your job, your position, your whatever is around, and you cannot be devoid of attachments. It is something that is natural to humans unless you train your mind across a period of time. But then as you work, as you put your efforts in the job, I think as situations come, a lot of situations can be negative, can come and hit you, a lot of people can work against you. There will be a lot of, life is like Vivekananda said, life is random. Life will always be random. How much ever you try to pull it into a perfection, it will again spin out of control. Like I remember what he said, like for everything that's good is created in the world, there is a shadow to it. So there's always a negative aspect of it. It's what you draw from it. And these kind of lessons actually help you in leading your life better, taking the stress in a much better, easier way, not getting attached to the job, but then delivering the goods as it happens, and then pushing yourself into success, whatever you call success is. You want to earn money, fame, or excellence. However, success can be defined in many ways. Like I was telling Ashutoshji yesterday, probably the society currently says success is about earning money, but I think that's a very limited way of looking at life. But then once you read these texts, you get a much bigger version of life, a larger framework of mind, a better way of handling situations, a much better way of looking at difficult situations and making it less difficult, because it's all how your mind responds to situations which makes it difficult or easy or happy or unhappy. So I think that's broadly what I learned.
And then I would ask Swamiji, can this ancient wisdom help us in modern life? Like at school, at work, or when we are confused about what to do in life?
You just exemplified it very, very much, because see, it's, I would not say ancient wisdom, I would call it timeless wisdom.
Yes.
Because the laws of nature, they are eternal. And if you are in tune with the laws of nature, which is described from different angles in the Vedic texts, then your life will be successful. Because what defines success? Is it how many degrees you made in school, or is it which school you went, or is it how rich your family or how influential your family was? I can show you many examples of very rich brats coming from rich families, which are a complete failure, and they went to the best schools, but they completely failed. Why? Because they missed one important point, and that is being in tune with natural law. I mean, you can define luck, the word luck, because you need to be lucky. If you want to be successful in life, you need to be lucky. Now, you can have a different definition of luck, which means support of circumstances, support of nature. And now, what is this support of nature? This is something you can earn. And that is what all these Vedic texts tell you how to do, that you earn the support of nature. Now, some people are away from their birth, for them circumstances, they are already more in tune with nature and start to study early texts like Ramesh, like Bhagavad Gita, things like that, so they get the benefits early, or they meditate, so there's some more nourishment already from nature, so that circumstances get fulfilled. I mean, they're helping you to get to what you intend to do. And that is the application of Vedic knowledge in general. Now, I think I want to make it very clear, if we say Vedic knowledge, we are not restricting ourselves to the four Vedas, like Rig Veda, Sama Veda, etc. We speak of the Vedic texts in general, which is huge, and there are aspects on every part of life. How you live, how your daily routine is, how you should learn, how what you do in certain circumstances, from examples from the Gita or from Puran or whatever. So there are many aspects of it. So that's why this knowledge should be in every education system.
This question would be for Rameshji. Was there a moment when you felt this is what you were meant to do, and did the purpose change over time or become clearer as you went ahead?
I think the purpose of life changes with age, because initially it's about your parents, then it's about your own, building your own career, building your own family, and then it comes to your career. And after, it's like the Maslow's theory, after everything is done, then you come to where you have to, that is a spiritual thing. So the purpose actually evolves. I think the whole life, is not about a singular purpose. I think what life teaches you is evolving. It actually teaches you and makes you a better and better person. And as you learn from different situations in life, and you start getting a better purpose. I was not like Swamiji, who at a very young age was with Mahesh Yogiji, and he was very clear that he wants to get into core spirituality. I think I was clear about being in corporate, doing well, and I still have a desire to be with corporate because I think I belong there in many ways. But I know whatever success or whatever fame you get in corporate is all ephemeral. It is not your ultimate purpose in life. But I think that's a design that I belong there. I feel I can do well and I've done well there. But ultimate purpose in life is to actually evolve into a much better human being. And all the experiences that you get from corporate, from life, from family, from society, fundamentally should make you a better person. If it does not make you a better person, then the experiences, you're not derived from the experience as well. I think that's the only purpose I see in life. And now I'm tending more towards spirituality because I think as I age, that's a different purpose I should have. Though I read these books much earlier in life, but each time you read it, as Swamiji would agree, you get a different value from them. Every time you read it, you get a different value from them. And I am into a lot of chanting because I feel chanting gives a different kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but there's a different vibration you get when you chant, in the morning, your mind gets calmer, cooler, and you stop thinking negative thoughts or start worrying about things unnecessarily. I think these are the lessons of life. And I tell this to my children also all the time. Even before they go for an exam, I tell them, you first chant for 10 minutes, then you go and write the exam. You'll do it better because your mind is almost cleansed of worries or negative thoughts.
They do it?
They do it, yeah.
That's wonderful.
They do it, but not always, but yeah. They're young, they'll take their time.
Right. Okay, Swamiji, young people today are often told to find their purpose. But how do we actually know what our Dharma is? What signs or feelings should we notice?
This question I would have expected in the West, where the people always ask, what is my Dharma? You see, that word Dharma is very much misunderstood. You have a certain Dharma, means duty. Dharma means basically duty. You have a certain Dharma as a student. You have a different Dharma if you're married. Again, you have a different Dharma when you are in older age and social activity like that. So your purpose or your Dharma changes. You probably want to ask in what direction a student should go, or how should he find what he should do in life. Well, I would always suggest to each and everyone to practice transcendental meditation, to get deeper into his own sort of nature and discover from his most refined level of consciousness what sort of impulses are coming. That's one thing. The second thing, and now we come to the application of Vedic knowledge, you can look into Jyotish, which is Vedic astrology, and see what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses, what would suit you, where would you be more successful, and in which direction to go if you have questions. I mean, not everybody needs to do that, but I would actually advise everyone to have a look into his Jyotish, because you see, there is in yoga, interesting enough, this sutra is in yoga, it says, Heya dukkam anagatam, avert the danger which has not yet come. So, and as Ramesh was saying, there are always ups and downs in life. There's shadow everywhere. You have your karma and the things which come to you, so there are problems coming up. So now, if you know beforehand that there is some period coming, so then, yes, you can prepare yourself. But also in terms of if you want to go in a certain profession, whether that would suit you or not, whether this will be... I know one Jyotishi friend of mine who has helped many people tremendously. They were in a certain direction and they had lots of problems, and he looked at their chart and said, stop this all and do something in this direction and you will be much more successful. And they followed what he said and they are thankful for life to him, because that changed their life from every point of view. So therefore, not always maybe what our parents or what our sort of relatives push us or what our friends suggest us, and in a sort of fancy we may think this is now, yes, that's what we're going to do, is necessarily the best thing. So it is good to... That's why when we spoke about what is the value of Vedic knowledge in our modern life, then there is a very important point. You go to a good Jyotishi who really knows, and you can always go to 2, 3. Like if you have a problem, you not only have to do what one doctor says, you can check with the second and third, so you can do that with Jyotish also, and see what they suggest and what is your strength and all that.
Now the question, this question would be for Ramesh ji. How do you make decisions in your private life and also in the corporate world? So have you ever made a decision that looked good on paper but did not feel right? And how did you handle such situation?
Decisions, I think a lot of decisions come from your depth of knowledge, and partly I think the logic that your mind has. And a lot of people are very fast decision makers, some people just cannot decide. So it's a question of being a little confused about the whole thing. So for me, decision making used to come to me very naturally from a very young age, because I was very clear what I was supposed to do. I think I was very clear about my values and my journey and how I want to do it. I was very, very clear. It was not swayed by a desire to make money. It was definitely a desire to grow big. That was there in my head. But then my decisions throughout in my life and in my career has been based on values. It has never been based on shortcuts or doing something this way, that way. I always tell my kids, my family, or even my office, you have to be right. Your mind should tell you, your inner voice should tell you what you're doing is right. If that is not right, then you should not do it. There's something wrong in the decision making. Sometimes situations tell you, don't do it. But you still end up doing it because of some compulsions, then you know that it is wrong. As Swamiji said, many times while you respect our parents may not be completely right in the decision making for you, because your decision has to be yours. But then it has to be driven by fundamentally, that the values that, in Bhagavad Gita is there, that you don't have greed, mad, matsarya, moh, the 5 things are there. As long as you're not guided by those 5 and you test your decisions on those, and you test your decisions on what is right, on testing on these values, then you sort of come with the right decision. And you should be proud of it, and you should stick with it, because no decision is good or bad. Many decisions lie in the center. It's in a grey area. Then it's your logic, your depth of knowledge which makes you decide this way or that way. And as you decide better, your life is actually more successful. And the second point you asked me, that inner conflict, I have had inner conflicts on some issues, and I have taken very strong decisions in my life to even leave a job or not be part of it, because I feel this is not supposed to where I'm supposed to be. That results in financial losses, that results in maybe sitting at home for a few months, but that's okay. But then sometimes you take those calls because then it does not agree with you. So I feel my peace of mind, my values are more important than just doing what the society thinks is right for you, and then you keep earning money and then trying to show to the world that I'm a great person because I have XYZ material goods around me. I think they're not very significant.
So basically you're saying go with the inner voice, and if still you don't have the clarity, then you take some logical decisions based on whatever knowledge you have and
Yeah,
whatever
your knowledge has to
experience
be, in a situation, your knowledge has to be deep
you have. Okay.
when you take a decision. Otherwise, if you're not well read, your decisions will never be right. The knowledge will give you the confidence to decide.
Okay.
And then at some point in time you will decide. I think that a lot of decision making comes from some inner strength also.
Right.
That's important. I've seen a lot of people cannot decide because they just keep reading, they just keep mixing things and too many things, variables. It's how you prioritize your variables and then decide what is to be right. And then you sometimes in corporate you make your decisions right also. Once you decide, then you sort of work towards making it right also. Even if you know it should have slipped this way, that way, you sort of work towards making it right and then making it successful. It needs a strength of character and a strength of a lot of strength inside. And I think a lot of strength for me, I think it comes from a lot by my reading and also from, I think it comes from some bit of software programming, which comes from as you're born, you get some strength. You are born with some strength, I always believe. And that somewhere helps you, take you through these situations also. That's my gut feeling.
Wonderful.
I think if I may add a point to that, because the question comes, what is right? Is it right to do what you feel is right, or is it right to do what the company wants you to do?
Yeah.
And there may be sometimes a conflict. That there is something the company wants you to do where you feel this is ethically not correct.
Ethically not right, yeah.
So then it is sometimes a difficult sort of situation, because you may risk your career, you risk your that you may have to leave the company, and on the other hand, I mean it gets into conflict. And there I would always say, go by what is right according to natural law, what is right according to the judgment.
Natural justice, yeah.
So for example, I had once a discussion with a doctor. I don't want to mention the name of the hospital, but he told me, I asked him, I suggested him when he was a student, because he went into allopathy to also study some Ayurvedic stuff and herbs and things. And 19, 20 years later I met him again, and then he confessed to me that he never went into all these studies, because he was completely convinced from his studying in the allopathic college and all that, that the allopathic system is the most successful system of treating and healing, etc. After 19 years being in the corporate world of, of the hospitals and all that, he realized that that the reality is different. And then he came to the situation where he just said, we know this patient is going to die, but we are forced by the corporation, by the hospital, to prescribe to the family in the name of doing everything possible, kind of, that is then the intellectual excuse in the background of the mind, even though you know there is no hope anymore. But you kind of say, no, do this treatment or do this, just to extract a few more lakhs out of the pocket of the family. Now there is now the thing, now if he goes and says, no, I'm not going to do, then he will lose the job.
Yeah.
So
That's the dilemma.
And that's the dilemma, then what to do. And that's where you get into problems.
Yeah.
And there are not many people who then do the right thing, who then actually step out and say, no, this is wrong.
Yeah, I think in medical field you have a day-to-day dilemma like this. In our field, being engineers and management guys, I think it's once in a while issue conflict with ethics. So you either what I do normally is because many times you have to listen to what the promoter or the people who run the company wants. Either you explain to them in a way that they understand and then the decision is rolled back, or you choose your company is right many times. Before you enter a company, there is a background check that you should do as an individual, because a lot of companies in India have a lot of unethical practices going on. So it's how you want to be part of it, how much you want to be part of it. That's
right.
Is this one reason why you went to many different companies, that you had many...
No, I spent about 5 years as a CEO in most companies. And so I've had a long stint everywhere. It's not that I came out very fast. So I draw my line when I get into a company. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know where I will end. And as a person, as a CEO, I always send out the right signals that what I'm capable of doing. And I draw a line where beyond this I cannot. And it's made quite clear. Maybe I won't talk about it, but it's made very clearly through, I would say, body languages, by subtle ways of putting it across. Subtlety is very important in corporate. You can't be just open mouth. Nobody likes it. So you have to be diplomatic, you have to be controlled in what you talk, and you have to be good in communication. It's like you have to use a lot of euphemisms many times. You say the same thing in a nice way. You would have said the same thing, but many times you have to tolerate. You don't have to tell everything to your family also. Many times you just shut your eye when it's not really materialistic. When it's not very significant, why? Unless you create a friction at home. So keeping your surroundings peaceful is in your hand. How much you want to do it well is up to you. Your ego is the biggest problem, so keep that under control, I think all I say. What do you call? The feeling that I am the world. You know, that I factor is the biggest problem, I think, many times in life, many problems.
Well, if we are not in tune, see, the moment we are more and more in tune with nature, then our actions start to be more and more in tune of nature and surrounding, and less with our small little world. That means our consciousness, and that's the purpose of spirituality, if you want to use this word generally, it widens your horizon and you see things above your own little interest and more of what is needed for at the present time for your family or for the environment or for your nation or whatever. And because you see that eventually that is also in your interest, even though at the present moment it may be a little sacrifice or maybe not what you would have done without this overview. So that's why meditation and getting more and more in tune with this cosmic universal laws is very important for anyone.
Anyone, yeah. It's the same principle across.
So I'll just ask Swamiji that if we make mistakes in life, does that mean that we have failed our karma? Or is it part of our learning process?
You see, there are two kinds of mistakes. Those you realize and those you don't realize. So once you have realized that it was a mistake, then it is already okay. Because then you know, yes, that was a mistake and I have to do next time different, or you can correct it also. And that comes again with the ego, to admit that one has to do done a mistake. The bigger problem is the mistakes we do not recognize as mistakes. And their nature will tell us that is a mistake. That means nature will give us at some stage a lesson, a slap, so to say, where we wake up. No, and then say, oh, well, then you realize that something I did wrong, but you may not intellectually realize, but nature forces you. Because there is no injustice in this world. This world, injustice doesn't exist. Whatever happens to you, you have created yourself previously at some stage. So mistakes are there to learn, but if you are more and more in tune with nature, you will not make mistakes. So that is the path. Mistakes are basically just blocks, like a stone, how do you call this, mark stones on a road. We say, no, don't go, otherwise you fall over the cliff. Mm-hmm. So they kind of, that you bump in it, that it was too much. So they guide, but if you are completely in tune with natural law, you won't make mistakes. Your actions will be successful, will be in tune with nature.
That seems logical. So my next question is about dealing with stress and depression. So Rameshji, I wanted to ask to you that many apps today are designed to keep us longer online. And how do we stay focused and avoid getting lost in screen time? And also do things like meditation or quiet reflection really help when people are going through deep stress or depression?
Yeah, I think today's world is a world of too many choices, so you have to make your choice right. And I always say there is no shortcut to a good life, and I think it starts with sleeping well. I always say, I am a person who has slept always on time, 9:30, 10. I've never, except if I'm partying with some friends once in a while, otherwise 10 to 6 is where I always sleep, irrespective of whichever company I worked in. I always stick to that schedule, because that's important, because that's the time your body is recharged, and if you are very focused on that part of it. And to sleep well, I think most important is also to keep your mind free of a lot of worries, because things, like I said, things will come and hit you, but as long as you think these are all, this will get solved with time, these are all small things. Every other person on the road is also having some worry. He's also having, every single person you see on the road is also walking around with multiple things on his head. So that's a human thing. So you have to just simplify it. You can say tomorrow, I'll solve it tomorrow, let's not worry about it, just keep pushing things out. And I think being physically active is also very important. I think getting into sports, some sort of physical activity, because like I'm sure the social media is full of these physical activities give you a lot of feel-good hormones and endorphins and those kind of things. I think that's very, very clear. I've never ever skipped that part in my life, because I feel that keeps me going, irrespective of the stress levels I have. Once you do a few of these things and you're focused on it, many times stress comes and hits your sleep also. Okay. And that's when meditation and these kind of tools will help, because the moment you meditate, like I was telling Swamiji, if I meditate for half an hour, after that I fall into sleep, and I sleep for 1.5 hours so deep, and then I get up fully refreshed. So at times this tool of meditation is required to sort of help you get over these kind of situations, because you have to cleanse your mind, and meditation is a good tool to remove those stress levels from your mind. But I think keeping screen time is in your hand. Very difficult to give any rules for it, because you have to understand it is bad for you, and when you know it's bad and then you want to indulge in it, it is your own choice. Right. And life is like that. Life will give you choices. You have to understand what to pick and what not to pick. And if you pick the wrong thing, and then you can cry about it later on. But yes, in my career I've seen generally I've seen people who are not on social media full time. I've seen them very alert in the office. I've seen much more focused, much on delivery, and I don't know. I've seen that as a sudden, because they sleep well. They come in the morning. You can see that sparkle in there. The youngsters with the sparkle in their eyes. Yeah. Many of them come like dead. They have the dead look in their eyes. It happens because you're not sleeping well, you're not focusing well, and you're not replenishing your body well, recharging your body well. So I think there are a few things, physical activity, sleep well, read some good things every day if you can read, or at least chant for at least half an hour every day. Try to meditate at least morning, evening, if it's possible at least. If you have a lot of stress, I think meditating evening will be of real good benefit, because you can sleep well after that. So you have to make those choices.
Yeah, so I just want to have a follow-up question to Swamiji, that a lot of content online nowadays is very addictive in nature. So how to deal with it? How can the younger generation deal with this kind of content?
Look, if you look in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a sloka that Vichya Vanivartante Nirahara Siddhena Savatramasyopa Param Drishtva. Matlab, Krishna tells to Arjuna, you can withdraw your senses and all that, but whatever is inside, whatever traumas, stresses, all these things you have put inside, they will not go away unless you experience the deep transcending knowledge, that having that experience of Atma. Once you do that, which is the source of all bliss, then everything gets nourished. These questions you ask, it's like a gardener. If you ask a gardener, what do you do when the plant has this sickness or that problem? A good gardener will tell, just nourish the root. Just nourish the root. And that is what meditation and yoga and Ayurvedic lifestyle, how Ramesh just described it so beautifully. I mean, yes. Rest is the basis of activity. If you do that, if the people go stick to scrolling the net the whole time and don't sleep well and all that, then yes, they get depressed, because they lose more and more the contact to that inner bliss. Your mind becomes very much on the gross level, And that's the source of depression, because you're not anymore, you're not self-referral. If you are self-referral, if you are grounded in your inner bliss, in your inner happiness, there is no space for depression. So depression only comes because you yourself have muddled up your routine and your life, and then you get into depression. It's not the circumstances, it's yourself who muddled it up. So you only need to do is start to practice transcendental meditation morning and evening within a few days, or if it's a heavy depression, maybe it takes a few weeks, but you will be completely out of it.
Absolutely.
Now moving to the next question. It's related to heart versus the mind versus destiny. So some say one should follow their heart and others say they should use logic. So, and then some say everything is destined anyway. So which one should we really trust? Should we leave everything to destiny, or should we go with our heart, or should we make decisions completely based on data? Can we change our destiny with our choices?
Everything is destined to be redestined. You see, the thing is, Yogananda, I don't know if you know Yogananda as a
Swami Yogananda.
Brahmanta
From
Yogananda.
Calcutta.
Yeah, he once said that the people who have a pure heart, they are the ones who are blessed. Nowadays, the training of the intellect is overemphasized in our education. The whole schooling is just all intellect, intellect, intellect. It's not really the intuition and being in tune with nature and all the things. There is no space in the curriculum for that, unless in a school like we have here, or in many other schools where they do practice meditation and yoga, where this is introduced. Because if you are going by your heart, which I would say in a different way, you are going by what is deep within you. The heart, we mean it's deep within you, and deep within you means what is in tune with nature. So, and then it will be successful. The intellect we should use in terms when you said, now I have to stop the scrolling of the internet, that's it. Or I should stop eating now, or I should stop, whenever you do things when you get attached, then you should use your intellect. That is the purpose of the intellect. But in terms of action, it's the action which is based on the depth of the heart which are successful. Yeah. So therefore, but what's the second part of the question? Or whether we can change our destiny. Yes, there is always a choice, but the basis of the choice is given. The basis is given. Where you are born, that has been given you. Of course, you can also say it was your decision, you go deeper in philosophy. But whatever you do out of the situation, that is your choice. And that will bring again results. So that is your complete freedom. Just circumstances may come up to you, but how you handle them, that is your choice. So that will create a reaction. So there, and then if you listen to your heart, you are better off. The intellect is a very gross fellow. Every thief justifies his action. so therefore, man has to be careful with this fellow. So listen to the depth of the heart, you're better off.
This is a short question to Rameshji. Do you think your path was also destined to become a leader where you are right now? Or is it just because of your hard work and effort that you put all across these years?
I wouldn't say hard work is the only thing. A lot of luck. Luck is like you're at the right time at the right place. And you sort of, at that point of time, you capture that situation is important. But I think a lot of our luck is from our birth itself, where we are born, the kind of parents we get, and the kind of teaching they give you. I think a lot of, I feel you are already having an upstart in life when you're born into a good family.
Right.
Then you only have to capture it. You only have to go a little higher, and then you have to work towards it. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's a lot of luck and right circumstances. And when the circumstances come to you, sort of encash it. How you want to do it. There are some risks you take, but you can never say it is completely your effort. It's never that. It's a mix of many things. The goodwill of parents, the goodwill of people around you, and again, finally, how you. A lot of growth happens because how you handle situations. People give you situations. Destiny will give you situations, and if you want to spoil it, or you want to make a better out of it, it's your choice.
Swamiji, one question is asked by many people, that why is Seva important?
Seva, I mean, what do you mean by Seva? It means, I think the word itself explains it, that you are a little bit less self-centered. You are more kind of doing something which is in need for the ashram society, for the nation, for whatever. So it's not about you, it's more about the common good. And it develops that thing. But I think the most important part in the spiritual path is practice. It's not so much seva, it's practice of yoga and meditation, which actually gives you the success and which will... Because, you see, development, it is by your thoughts which you have. And the thoughts you have depends on how your environment is and how your physiology is. You have different thoughts when you have not slept well. You have different thoughts after a heavy meal. You have different thoughts if somebody ditched you, then your mind is... The circumstances which create your thoughts. So now what does a spiritual practice in generally do if you do meditation and yoga? It purifies your physiology. So it is a physiological transformation which brings us to a higher functioning of the mind. And Seva, yes, that helps, that is a part of it. It makes you more oriented to the common good. But more important than that is actually the practice. The most important part in anybody's life should be contacting his inner thought, his pure consciousness, enriching by that all his parts of his life. That means his health, his physiology, his actions, his thoughts. Everything becomes enriched from that common root, which is within, which is that blissful level, that Atma level, that pure being, which is the basis of everything. So that has to be contacted. That should be the main focus in our life, not necessarily seva only. How much time a gardener is watering the roots in his garden? It's not much you need. He waters a little bit the root, and then the flower will come. But you should be regularly. See, that is the thing. People should be regular. It has to be in a daily routine. And as Ramesh already said, being regularly going to bed in time, early, have a good night's sleep, that is also a basis for having a successful meditation. If you are tired and you just have an hour, then your meditation will not be that successful as much as your work will not be that successful. So rest is the basis of activity, and deep rest, which you get in meditation, is the basis of a spiritual awakening from every aspect in your life.
And like you have already told us about Jyotish and Vastu, but can things like Jyotish and Vastu really help us in daily routine or decision making?
Absolutely. You see, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, whose students I am, he once said, 3 things are important in life: Mana Shanti, Graha Shanti, Vastu Shanti. Now, Mana Shanti is what I just discussed now. Mana Shanti means your mind is peaceful and then your actions will be successful, etc. That is also guaranteed or supported by, I would say, a dinacharya lifestyle, as Ramesh was just describing, going to bed before 10 o'clock. That's because that's when, according to Ayurveda, you should go into bed in the kapha period, which is between 6 evening to 10 o'clock. So that is the time to go, and then you wake up in the vata time, which is between 2 in the morning and 6. So one should always wake up before the sunrise. And that is what the dinacharya route is. So that gives you manashanti. And that already is the very important part to make your life successful. Okay, now everybody has certain circumstances, certain problems, certain things unexpected, which was not planned by him or so. And for that we have Jyotish, also Heya Dukkhamanagam, a word, the danger which has not yet come. So when you go on a mountain trip, for 3 days or so, you check the weather condition. According to that, you pack your stuff and you take whatever you need for wherever you go. That is what Jyotish is all about. It's a life journey, so you check what things will meet you on the way and you prepare yourself. Now you have to pay the bill. You will not be able to get around it. You have to pay the bill. The question is how you pay it. There you have your freedom. And that's where we have, in the Vedic text, there's another section of text which is called kalpa. Kalpa means to change, like kaya kalpa in Ayurveda is to change the body. And kalp, yes, in that particular text, there are these different approaches for different areas of life, where you then do certain ceremonies, Vedic ceremonies, which then do change the situation a little bit, or it makes the situation in a way that, yes, it will come and rain, but you will have an umbrella. You will not get wet. So see, that is, the situation will be modeled down. Basically, you just ask the law of natures to bring the bill in a different way, and you will pay in a different way. So that is what all this kalpa does. So that is the purpose of kalpa. So that also would answer, can we change the destiny, which you asked before. So that is the purpose of Jyotish. So once a friend of mine, he asked Maharishi, he said, no, why should I look at my chart? Whatever comes, comes. And Maharishi answered him, if you can afford. If you can afford. Because if you know something hefty is coming, you can prepare yourself and do something that it is not coming in that heavy way, then that is better. That is the purpose of Jyotish. Now the third, Vastu Shanti. You see, Vastu, it is something very strange. And so is actually Jyotish also. How, people who say, what is this Jyotish? But how does a graha, like a planet like Shani, who is, I don't know how many thousands of kilometers away from here, how should he influence me? If you look at Jyotish in that bhautik, in that gross, classical, superficial sort of way, superficial I mean here physical, in the physical way, bhautik way, if you look at it, it doesn't make any sense. Anything in the Ved, you have to look from 3 levels. Okay. That is the level of the adhyatmic, the pure intelligence, the unmanifest level. And then we have the manifest level, that is the bhautik. But then there is something between. And these are the laws of nature, the devas, as we say in India, in the Vedic words. These are the laws of nature which manifest this entire universe. Maharishi also used to explain it with a flower, which illustrates it very sweetly. If you look at the flower, you see the nice petals and leaves and the stem and all these things. But if you look at the flower with a magnifying glass, I'm speaking of a microscope, then you will see that all these qualities of the flower, which you see nicely here, are not there. There is no greenness or pinkness or redness or stiffness or roughness or tenderness. All these qualities which the different parts of the flowers have, you won't see in the sap from where the flower comes. So now there is a point in this sap where the sap, so to say, decides, here I have to make a leaf, and here a stem, and here a petal. And this junction point is the level of the Adideva. Now if you want to change something, you have to do it on that level. You cannot change it once the flower is made, you cannot do it and it's done. So any change you want to bring about is on that level. So all aspects of Vedic science can only be understood if we understand this principle. So it's on that level that we can go and change, and will only work if you are grounded in that inner blissful state. So that's the Rig Veda says, Riksha Akshare Parame Vyoman Yasmin Deva Dinisha Vishedu Yastana Ved Kimricha Grishati. Means if you don't know that level of para, where all the laws of nature are residing, then nothing you can do. You have to be established on that level of para. Then the laws of nature, the devas, will listen to you. It's like if I say something, we should do this. Well, maybe some people in the ashram will listen, but nobody in India will listen. If I'm the Supreme Court judge and I say it, then the whole nation trembles. Yes, I know, because I'm on that seat. Huh? So if I'm on that seat of pure knowledge, on that seat of Atma, then the laws of nature listen. That's right, Nikila Nilim Paparisha Tsetemitatenisham. So they will kind of honor what you say. So you have to be established on that level. Now, there are certain texts in the Vedic family of texts which are called the Upaved. And Vastu is one of the Upaved, Ayurveda is another one. And the Upaved, basically, they help us, they guide us how from the superficial level, from the gross level, from the level we see with our senses, we can arrange the things in a way, our routine, all that, like Dinacharya routine, or our way how we live, that we get maximum support of those laws of nature. And that is what Vastu is. So for many people it is kind of strange if you say, no, you should have a door in the east or maybe north, but don't have a door in the south, or all these rules, and you say, why? Why should it make anything it doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't make any sense if you look at it only from the level of the bhautik, then it doesn't make any sense. But the moment you look at the level of what I just explained, and then the Vastu then explains, yes, that the moment you make a construction, then certain things get lively. You enliven things. There's a Vastu, and there are certain devatas on each angle of the house, in each part of the house is divided into fields, and then certain things you can do, you can hear, you can cook, or there you can have water, and there you should not have water, and there you should have heavy things, and there you should not have a staircase. And for many people it doesn't make any sense, but if you can afford, if you have your own house, definitely follow it, do it, it will help you. I had to learn it the hard way, because we had a house when I was a small boy. My parents, they bought a house. It was a beautiful house, beautiful, many rooms, and it was in a very rich area of the city. But after about 2 years, my parents divorced, and good as luck had it, my mother got the house, and we were with the mother, and she rented this house out to some tenants, and so that was our income, and we went to a relatively simple apartment in another part of Switzerland. And that was the income, and yes, and she worked also. So that's how we lived. But soon, after another maybe 2 years or so, our tenants got problems. And I don't remember what it was, but they moved out. I think there was also a divorce or something. Mm-hmm. And we had new tenants. And then after some time, they also got problems. And at some stage, my mother said, is the devil living in this house? Whoever, and actually we got the house also relatively cheap, because whoever sold the house to us, they also had problems. There was a series of kind of, which is really, we felt it strange. Then in 1992, Maharishi started to bring Vastu knowledge into the domain, and we learned that south entrance are not good. And our house had a perfect south entrance, as perfect as it can be. So we sold it. We got rid of it. So, but I had to learn it the hard way. And if you make your own research and you look into the Vastu laws, and then you go into cities and interview people and see what is the life and the stories and all that, and look at the Vastu, you will be shocked. So therefore, making use of this Vedic knowledge has only benefits. And the Vastu is very strong. You see, even if you are good, having a good routine and you meditate, you may have a good Jyotish situation also, but if the Vastu is all wrong, you definitely get problems. Yes, Vastu, Jyotish, and an Ayurvedic good routine with meditation, these three things should be incorporated in everybody's life.
One question we have is about Trikal Sandhya. So 3 daily prayers that we have in our Vedic tradition. So are they meant for spiritual people or anyone can practice it?
This planet should do things like that. You see, the Trikal Sandhya, I always say all us Hindus should take an example on all the Muslim brothers who do 5 times Nawaz. Now ask around in India how many people even know that there are 3 Sandhyas. How many people know that there is something like that? Very few. And those who know how many are doing it, the world would be a different place if the people would do it. So yes, anybody who should do it and should meditate and do all these things, it doesn't take much time, but it is nourishing nature on a very subtle level. So that is a very important point.
Coming to the next question to Ramesh ji. So even in the fast-moving corporate world, do you think it's important to stay connected to nature and remain grounded? Because I met you, I found you down to earth personality. So how does it affect in the corporate world?
I think the biggest attribute of a human being is humility, and that is irrespective of what you are, where you are, in what position you are. I think that is the most important attribute. And once you're humble, you learn, you get knowledge, people come to you, people talk to you. And so I always believe there's nothing beyond humility. Once you're humble, everything works well for you around you, your family, your society around you, your work, your corporate life. And I think a whole lot of spirituality is required. I'm a strong believer that I wouldn't say Bhagavad Gita should be taught, then it will become a big issue if you say every school. Then I would say what is required in the current curriculum of schooling or even in management institutes is value education. Some sort of value and spiritual education is required for children. I think that is the one point which is completely lacking. You are taught physics, chemistry, mathematics, social studies, but there is nothing that is telling you about your mind, about your consciousness, how you're supposed to lead your life.
So true.
And what should be the way of looking at situations, how do I handle situations. Well, the same situation, 2 people can handle differently. One person can become very agitated and he will say, oh, how do I handle it, what do I do. And another person will say, no, let me just sit quiet, watch it, and let me handle it in the way. Because finally, the results are not in my hand. Like Bhagavad Gita saying is there, no? Karmanyeva adhikaraste, that one. I strictly believe in it. It doesn't mean that you are not in control of the results. It actually means that if you think too much about the results, your actions get corrupted. Right. So you have to first focus on your actions, the enablers. Then the results will follow. It means that. People say that, Bhagavad Gita says that don't look at the results are not required, it will come automatically. I don't think it says that. It only says that you don't worry about the results too much, that your action starts getting corrupted. You worry about your actions first and focus on it completely, the results will come automatically. I think in corporate also that's most important. A lot of situations we just work towards making things happen. And I look at every situation with a lot of detachment. And because of I've had very tough situations in my corporate life, very, very difficult situations. There have been days when I have not slept also, irrespective of whatever I'm saying. There have been days when I have not slept because I was a CEO when I was just 39 of a 10,000 crore company and I had some high court closure orders, some Supreme Court issues. And it was too much for me at that age to handle. It was just, I was very young and the whole company is looking at me to solve them. But I think my spiritual reading, and I took to a lot of chanting that point of time, because that is very important to keep my mind comfortable. And that's when I started learning this Vishnu Sahasranam.
Interesting, very interesting.
So then I started chanting that every day, and these kind of things actually help you. But in a modern, like Swamiji said, in a modern teaching, it is never taught to you. The values are not taught to you in schools.
Right.
Your spiritual knowledge is not taught to you. You are totally about your mind. You are what your mind is, but that is never taught to you. You are taught everything outside. All external things are taught to you. Everything outside is taught to you, but what is inside is never being discussed, even in schools. Coming to the point of earlier, you asked about the scrolling and children getting addicted at a very young age. I think in schools, if you are taught few things on spiritual side, on value systems, probably many of these things can vanish. I think when we were young, we had these Panchatantra books and those kind of things, which actually was really good teaching of value systems. I always say the Panchatantra books are good enough to teach a full value system to its student. Today, none of the children even read it. It is not even taught in school, leave alone taught. No child has any interest in even looking at it.
Right.
Because they are busy again in mobile phones or in some other gratification of senses, what you call. They are like, it's more of gratification of senses now that's more important than anything else. So it's a so every world, like I would say corporate is different, corporate definitely needs, so you find some people who are very sensible. I was successful because I think I was very sensible, I was composed and I was to handle situations very well, I should decide well. It's not about the age or the person, it's about how your mind is in the control. If your mind is not a control, you cannot be successful. You will see a person who's 80 years old has the maturity of a 20-year-old person. You will see some grandparents who will be talking small things. You will think, what is this? This man has become so old, he's still talking these small things. Because they have not evolved. They have become 80, but they are not evolved. The mind is not evolved. Their inner consciousness is not involved. They are not learned from the world. They are stuck where they were at some point of time and they refuse to move up. So they stop learning at some point of time. And you stop learning when you have a lot of ego. The moment you think, I know everything, and I'm senior, I know things, I'm so-and-so, I'm CEO, I'm chairman, and I don't have to learn anything, then you actually stop learning. And that's when you start going down in life. That's when you start falling. And you will fall.
Right.
And none of these positions are, for me, none of these positions were me. It was a position I was holding, like Swamiji said, like a Supreme Court judge. Till 65 you're a Supreme Court judge. The next day you retire, you're nobody. You are a common man on the ground. So you are whatever comes with the position is for that position. And you have to leave it at some point of time. You have to give way for youngsters. And that is life. That is the law of life. And if you think it cannot happen, it will happen. The nature will force it on you at some point of time.
It reminds me of a story of an ambassador, it's his last posting. He goes back home, and when he leaves the country where he was ambassador, he's greeted by the Prime Minister. And when he arrives in India, he's greeted by nobody. Because he's retired now. So it's a complete shock. But there it comes in, why are you living? You're not living for your position.
Yes.
You're living for your inner bliss and fulfillment. These are just operations to do. And and you ask about spirituality, but I know that there's spiritual people that don't speak about spirituality. They are grounded, practical people. They are completely grounded and practical and very pleasant to be with, but they're not making big philosophical talks.
Yes.
So that's not what spirituality is.
Right, that makes sense. Basically, this is India is the land of knowledge of the Vedas, and it is very unfortunate that this wisdom has been lost in the modern chaos. There are more than 40 dimensions in the Vedas, and each dimension goes so deep that you can do a PhD on it. And that has been completely lost. It's coming back after National Education Policy 2020. Government is kind of focusing more on the Vedas, so hopefully it will become better in the future.
So it's about inner and outer responsibility. So I would like to ask Swamiji, you often speak about surrendering to nature or the higher power, but in life we are also told to take full responsibility. So how do you balance surrender with personal action?
You live in a way that they start to surrender to you. That means, you see, that they, as I said, if you are the church, then everybody is kind of like this. And this is Nikila Nilim Paparishatsilim Vitatenisham. That means even the devas have respect of you because you are nourishing them, and whoever you nourish will start to support you. So it is by just living your full, be as you can be. Don't try to be somebody else. Be as you, as much as you can you be. If you be as you are, then everything will fulfill. That means there will be support, and these higher powers, they become your servants. They will support you so fully because they're so happy about you, because you're nourishing them fully, that this question becomes not an opposite, becomes one.
Rameshji, so basically you have made some bold decisions in your career, as you were explaining. So how do you stay confident in those choices while staying humble and grounded at the same time?
No, the decision is coming out of confidence in yourself, right? You cannot take a decision unless you're confident about
So
yourself.
then my next question would be like, how the companies which are just for-profit entities, so how should they balance this profit mindset with long-term sustainability for the whole humanity?
I think the biggest bane in the world is unbridled capitalism at this point of time. That is money at any cost. I think that's come to that. And that is creating a whole lot of issues in this world. And that's where the whole equilibrium in the world is getting lost. I would say capitalism is bad, but as you rightly said, capitalism encourages meritocracy, so it's important. Socialism does not encourage meritocracy. It will like you are good or bad, you're getting something from the government. So you are getting dole, and doles generally make society generally incompetent. Many people just take advantage of the situation. But the point today is that there is a rush to make money, get the market cap, get into big league, and be famous. Get into the focus of the big press, and end up doing a whole lot of things. Doing a lot of unethical things. So I think, but these companies generally they do collapse at some point of time. But like there are large groups which have built across 100, 150 years, who are actually built on a lot of ethical grounds and logical value systems. A case in point is like a Tata group of somebody where, irrespective of what happens, people have trust.
Yes.
And they feel they never mean wrong. So I think a corporate has to build a lot of goodwill. That's most important. The goodwill part is lost, and they just focus only on quarterly results, yearly results, and then how to take up the market cap. Again, even there you have a lot of manipulation that happens in the share markets. It is. I sincerely believe it is not a long-term sustainable model, because at some point of time it's not going to work. So when you build a corporate on good value systems, respect for environment, respect for human rights, respect for people, but obviously you have to make money, otherwise the company does not sustain. So obviously profit motive is always there, but not at the cost of gross violations of ethical values across all spheres, environment, people, everything.
So coming to the final part, Swamiji, if someone listening right now feels a little lost or unsure of who they are, what's one thing you would say to them to take the next step?
Go to the internet, type in tm.org. Look where is your next TM center and learn transcendental meditation. That you become self-referent. Then you will know who you are, and that your potential is infinite.
Absolutely.
So this is the last question that we have for you. So what advice would you give to the students or young leaders who want to make decisions which is beneficial not just for themselves but also for the whole world?
Yeah, my general advice to youngsters is follow your heart, listen to what you feel is right, and pursue it for excellence. Pursue it to do well for yourself. Obviously you should have a focus on what you want to do, and you have to really be focused on it. But then I think focus on excellence, that's most important. And take the right decisions in life. There will be a lot of chatter around you. Obviously people will tell you this is not right, that is not right. A lot of people would like you to conform to what is the existent way of doing things. But do it ethically, do it well, and pursue your goal in a fashion that you reach it, because generally you reach where you want to reach. Unless you push yourself, you don't achieve anything in life, and you have to focus on it. And stay simple, stay grounded, stay humble. I think that's very important to achieve anything in life. And keep people with you, because people make you successful. You have to have people around you.
Right.
It is not an individual play that you do. At the end of the day, it's a game play. So to keep people around, so that's a broad decision. Yeah, that's what I would decide.
I think we had a very lovely discussion today. We at The Threshold, we are basically aiming to integrate transcendental wisdom into humanity's decision-making framework, and integrating it into the corporate world is the need of the hour. And as you rightly said, like the students, the children, they need spiritual education, some kind of spiritual education in their curriculum. So we think we are working on towards it, and in the future we'll be connecting again with you to get some insights on how we can integrate this in a better way in the corporate world and also in the curriculum for the students.
Thank you.
Thank you.